Hi, welcome back to my channel. I talk about my experience with healing from a marriage, and hopefully by me sharing my story and my tips and how I've healed and how I'm healing, I can help one other person. Today, I'm going to talk about rumination, specifically rumination about the relationship, how I've seen this play out in my life, and how I've been able to successfully stop rumination and move forward with my life. A lot of these tips are tips from Dr. Romney. I'm going to give her tips and expand upon my experience with how they've worked and give personal examples from my own life about how I've been able to move forward from rumination and onto more productive things. Rumination about my situation, it happened while I was in the relationship and also while I was leaving and post-relationship. And I feel like rumination has taken up so much of my life, of me trying to figure out what I could have done in order to make the relationship work, or while I was in the relationship, what I could be doing and how I could change myself in order to help change my partner and make it a functional, healthy relationship. Rumination is a symptom of PTSD. It's the constant, going around in a circle, thinking, what happened to me? What could I have done better in the relationship? How could I have saved it? Is this relationship worth saving? How did the relationship evolve to what it is today? How is this person so loving one day and then so critical the next? So I'll give you my tips about how I stopped that constant thought loop and how I have now moved on with my life and experience a lot of self-trust. The first thing that I've done is that whenever the thought pops into my head about ruminating about the relationship and what I could have done, I just simply tell myself, instead of saying, no, don't think about that, which sometimes makes it worse because it's avoidance, sometimes I'll really lean into it and I'll say, hey, I can feel that you're feeling that way. That's great. You want to think about this and you feel like you can't think about anything else. How about we set this thought aside, and in an hour, we'll go on a run or we'll go on a walk or go on a bike ride, and you can think about it then for exactly 30 minutes. I'm going to let you just really think about it then, and you can flush this out of your system and out of your body. But until then, we need to focus on the task at hand. And it's not that we're not going to think about this again. It's that you're going to have a time allotted in order to really think about it, process it, and then move on respectively. So giving yourself a time to think about it, a healthy space to think about it, and a time limit, that really, really helped me. There was a point where I felt like I couldn't stop talking about my relationship and what happened, and that I was exhausting people. And of course, my friends and family were like, no, you're fine, talk about it as much as you want. But I am a human with basic empathy, and I did not want to exhaust, especially the people I love the most. And therapy it dwindled down to once a week once I was in a safe place. Once a week therapy, it felt like I needed to talk about this every day, not just once a week. On your iPhone, there's voice memos. So I would go on a walk or I would be on my couch and I would record myself, sometimes crying for like 10 minutes and releasing it, and just like holding space for myself to have those hard emotions. And I would listen back to it and extend myself empathy of, oh wow, this person is going through a lot right now. And I was able to give myself the empathy and the validation that I would look for historically, that I have looked for elsewhere. And I was able to give that to myself, and I felt like that was really healing, and it built self-trust. It also helped me to not seek external validation and validate my own emotions, which was very positive and very healing. Another thing I did that I've touched on a little earlier, but it's carving out alone time in order to really process these things. And I did this even when that day I didn't think that I needed it, and it turned out that I really did need it, and I did need to think through things. So I would carve out time by, on my lunch break, going to my car and just putting the seat down and really feeling in my body the emotions and sitting with, it's important to sit with uncomfortable emotions for 90 seconds in order to release that from your body. So if you have a horrible feeling in your stomach, just focus on that feeling, sit with it for 90 seconds and say, I'm gonna feel you until I release you. And that's something that really, really helped me, was feeling the emotion all the way through the emotion, not cutting it short through distraction, and letting it complete its cycle of working its way through my body. Another thing I did was go on a run or bike ride at the gym with no music sometimes, and just staring at a wall and really processing things as I was working out. So it did that, like I said in the last video, I did that EMDR processing where it was repetitive movements in order to stimulate your brain to process things that you couldn't normally get to that depth without that repetitive movement. Sometimes I'll schedule a 15-minute walk from work where for 15 minutes I could feel those emotions, and you can feel emotions starting to bubble up, and sometimes if you don't release them, they're gonna fester and it's gonna make work harder. So it's better to take a 15-minute break from work to process the hard things and think through the hard things, release them, give yourself a time limit, and then return back to the project you're working on. I found that to be extremely helpful. Another really, really helpful thing is journaling. So writing down, if you're going over and over in your head the same thing, sometimes I would even wake up in the middle of the night and write for 2 hours because I needed to write down the story of what happened. I met my partner when we were young, and I thought it was going to be such a fairy tale, and it turned out to be the antithesis of that. So it was important for me to write down the story of how it started, and how it ended, and what my life looks like next. It helped me tangibly process exactly what happened and what was going on, and the things that I overlooked, and how my story could be rewritten in the future to have a much better and healthy outcome for my life. I just made up this exercise because it's helped me, but I did that the second I left the relationship, and then every single day, I think for 7 days after immediately leaving, and then I would do it once every 2 weeks for probably 6 months until I was really able to process what happened and get a hold of everything. Because when you're in the weeds, it's hard to look around and see, oh my gosh, what happened? I feel so lost. And so it is writing out the story. It helps you go from in the weeds to, like a bird's eye view. Now you're in the bird stand and you can look out, and there's so much more to life than just being in your immediate situation and surviving. Sometimes when you're in the weeds, though, it is hard to see the bigger picture. And I felt like writing out my story, it really helped me see that there's so much more to my life than just surviving, and that when you have PTSD and when you're ruminating, it feels like you're going to be stuck in your situation forever. And I promise you, you're not. There's so much for you to look forward to. There's so much you're going to experience. There's so much life for you out there, and I'm excited for you. And I'm also excited for myself. One of the most powerful things that helped me stop ruminating was understanding that I couldn't have stopped my partner's behavior as hard as I tried. I poured everything I had into that relationship. I felt depleted day after day, just pouring myself in, giving so much, giving endlessly. It was like filling up a bucket with holes in it, like all this energy went in and it just came all spilling out. Realizing that there's nothing that you could do to have fixed this person or have made this person happy. No amount of giving would have changed this person's behavior or outlook on life or their emptiness, and that you are essentially not their parent, and you're two adults who are both in charge of your own happiness. And healthy people don't treat other people like that. Learning new things really helped me, being involved in the community in a lot of different ways, and learning a new skill set. Picking up a sport that I was able to do 2 to 3 times a week that helped rewire my brain. It made me use my brain in a different way. It made me use my body in a different way. And it helped restore dopamine after, being single and not being with my partner every day. So that was extremely helpful for me because I had no prior memories associated with the sport that I picked up from my partner. So when I picked up my sport again, it felt like I was reconnecting with my inner child. Gardening is really good for your nervous system, and it helps you see that every single day this plant is growing, and it's almost like an analogy that you're watering your plant, but you're also watering yourself and growing. You can join a mentorship club. So I did some career mentoring with younger students that helped me put my energy into helping others. And then obviously like sports leagues or exercise clubs, just something to get your dopamine, build community, and feel more centered in yourself. The last thing that really helped me was how powerful music is. I have my record player back there, which was really, really helpful. Music helped in 2 ways. One, it helps you validate your experience to put words and another artist's emotion to what you're feeling. So it helps validate you. It helps you feel like you're not so alone in this world and you're not the only one who's experiencing hard things. There's someone, when you're listening to it, there's someone alongside you experiencing those things and validating your emotions. And then 2, when you're in an apathetic mood or a sad mood, music can really help liven you up. Whenever I would feel really down, I would put on Silk Chiffon by Mona, and that song just really lifted my spirits. Positive music changes the whole energy to your space, especially when you live alone. I would put my fairy lights on, I would put my record player on, I'd play the most positive music, I'd be dancing around, singing around like I was a teenager, and just, like shaking off the apathy or shaking off the sad mood, and it completely changed. Rumination is hard. It feels like it's gonna last forever, and I'm here to tell you that it's not, and these are very tangible ways that you can, even if you can't stop rumination or thinking about the situation, you can definitely help limit it or at least hold yourself accountable to help yourself in some way. So, and that's like the first part, and that's all we can do. So I hope you all have taken at least one thing from this video, and if you have any tips that have helped you, please put them in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I'm wishing you all so much peace and so much happiness and such a quick and speedy recovery. Okay, bye.